was when these guys started.
Right.
And nobody knew what YouTube was going to be. I mean, one of the OG YouTubers that they talk about was that they say, I thought YouTube was going to be a video version of PhotoBucket.
Right.
So they could make videos of themselves and keep it on there and then just have them for themselves.
Right.
And not have like everybody share them or see them like videos you put on Facebook. And I remember making a lot of Facebook videos back around that time. I remember I went to a really huge event and I made really cool videos and I put them on Facebook and everybody can see them. And I wouldn't have even thought of putting them on in 2008. I wouldn't have thought a thing of putting them on. But the thing is the thing that it says here, YouTube put one of her videos, most of which have been switched to private. She since put them to private on its front page.
Right.
And it sent 10,000 subscribers her way.
Right.
So they didn't understand that they were making this content that they thought they were just saving these videos that nobody was going to see. And they were just kind of getting put on the front page, a lot of these early people. And then it turned into something. They kind of made YouTube what it was going to be at the same time YouTube was figuring out what it was going to be. And they didn't set out to be these content makers.
And they were just organically doing, just putting it out there and thinking it was going to be for their little community. And I do think that's interesting that now, because of all of the work that they did, and then I think eventually they ended up getting more notoriety than some of them thought they were going to get. It has now turned into why there is a professional YouTuber or TikToker, and that people look at that like it's a career because they were able to monetize it. But I do think some of those OG ones, from looking at the story that you had sent out, Sam, it is a matter of now they're going, well, I eventually wanted to grow up and be a marketing director, or I was going to grow up and do something else, or I wanted a TV show or something else.
Right. Because they are content creators now. So why wouldn't you grow up and then go get a really good salary or career doing something else when you never thought you were going to have a show? Okay, the thing that I thought was fascinating about this, and this is a true thing, the number one career around kids in the United States and a lot of places around the world now, when you ask them what they want to be grow up, is a YouTuber.
Right. Yeah. It's always in the top 10 now.
Yeah. My brother has a 10-year-old son. He's really good at sports. His two things he wants to be when he grows up, he says either a football player or a YouTuber.
Yep.
We laugh so hard. We're like, football player or YouTuber. But I mean, I guess that seems,
and you might
probably
be both.
Seems equal to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
You could be both.
And I was talking to my son about this because he was, YouTubers this and YouTubers that, and we watch YouTube shows. I mean, that's mainly what my son wants to watch with me. When there's a couple of them that drive me crazy, but there's a few people that we follow and we have to see what they're up to. He's like, no, you have to see what they did now, and it's like, this is the new one, and let's just watch. And I'm like, oh my God. But it's just so weird that in that time that it's become like a legit thing that these kids think is a thing that they can do. And I'm like, it's hard work. You got to make content. You got to create content. You got to edit content.
And you have to be consistent.
My kids have already told me they wouldn't be interested in doing what I'm doing. At one time, I was telling my daughter, maybe you should think about doing more film or learning how to edit film and doing social media. And she's just like, I have no interest in doing that for a living. They see how the sausage gets made and they really don't have that much of an interest in doing a lot of online stuff or content creating.
Did you guys see
It's not that cool.
Did you see the counter programming that happened during VidCon for TanaCon?
No.
So TanaCon, she's a recent YouTube influencer, has I don't even know how many followers, a ton. And she's the one that married Logan Paul, one of the Paul brothers.
This is the one that's like the Fire Festival,
basically, because
of YouTube.
Because the way that it works at VidCon is that there are certain key influencers who are invited, and they get special preferential treatment. And so she was not invited as one of those people where she got the extra treatment. So she decided to put on her own festival. And this is the part that I'm not mad at her. Anybody who's tried to put on, like Judy, this goes back to what my side of the knowing the stuff that happens behind the curtain. Because I have put on major events, and I know how much effort it puts to put on an event. And so I do feel like this YouTube influencer thought that she could work with this particular group of promoters and put on her own event across town. And then without thinking it through, got way more people to show up to this event than she thought. So it ended up getting shut down because they weren't staying to fire code. They had a line out the door and down around the parking lot. People were standing outside in the sun for hours.
It looks like just a disaster.
Wow. Right. And
this happens a lot when one social media influencer girl decides that she's going to hold a convention and gets a lot of money from people, and then they all stand in a hallway.
Right. It's
this
just
has happened a number of times.
Right. Where they just don't, they understand that they have an influence, but they don't understand the bricks and mortar side of actually doing an event. So
they're not hard workers.
No, or they just haven't had that experience. These kids are like, she's like 22. And so she hasn't had a job that was involved in this and doesn't know all the pieces and that you need permits and to hire this much staff and those things. She's just used to, I do the content and then things happen and then people send me checks. And so that's the only part of it that I felt bad about, kind of thing. But I do think that that's why they get to keep people like you and the three of us employed as professional marketers. We're like, wait, slow down. There are some things that are involved, but
it's
the reason
a lot of work.
Right.
I mean, it's and a lot of these kids. One of the things that we watch mainly because we found it on accident in my family, and it's just like we kind of make fun of it. But there's these YouTubers called Sis versus Bro, and their parents are doing this. Do you know what I mean? It's like taking their whole family and they're kind of exploiting their kids, but it's just between this sister and this brother, their personalities. And that was what my son made me watch because now they just had a new baby, which I'm figuring that the parents had because the sister's getting older and they need new blood,
So they're like, new season, new baby.
Well, no one has like a 13 to 14-year-old daughter and like a 10 to 11-year-old son. And then all of a sudden is like, you know what we need in this family? A baby. Who waits 10 years?
Well, I do have some friends that have done that, but it wasn't, we will say, not absolutely intentional.
It's either a complete accident. Right. One of the other kids needs a kidney. Or you're YouTubers and you need to do cuteness for your feed because that's how your family's making the money.
You need to start a spin-off channel. So that's what you do.
So, anyways, but yeah, it's like that whole family is like, get together. We better, you're making slime today. Get ready. We're filming.
You know what I thought was interesting is apparently now there's a movement afoot to form a union of YouTubers.
Oh.
Because they, with the whole rise of monetization, and as YouTube as YouTube has changed their algorithm and things have changed. So, and this isn't a formal union, but it's more of it's in Berlin. It started with a group in Berlin.
Interesting.
And so, like they started, I think, in the metalworkers union, but they've really kind of marshaled all the YouTubers to form really a social movement to raise awareness about their treatment, about the monetization.
Well, good on them. If they can start it early, that's the best time to do it. Because if they wait another 10 years, nobody's getting a union done, and that whole thing. There's no way.
Yeah.
They'll shut it down.
But they want YouTube to do things for them?
They probably want they probably wanted some consistency in the way that the algorithm works and
that's
them
exactly
be able to do
it. Yep. It's 18,000 members who are collectively protesting changes to YouTube's advertising rules.
Right. Yeah, I could see that working. I do think that this is a good time, though, for us to move into our next segment because there's a good pivot. Because in our "Does This Make Me Old" segment, we can go from YouTubers to mommy bloggers. So we're still looking at a variety of content creators and how people might be having a little bit of buyer's remorse with their decision to be these particular type of content creators. And so let's start with your story that you have about this particular mommy blogger, Judy.
Okay, so this is a mom blogger who actually invented gender reveal parties. And this was in 2008 as well, when that was just such an interesting time online. It was when a lot of people got on Facebook, a lot of people got on Twitter. Blogging really took off. I know I had a really popular blog at that time. So she baked a cake ahead of the birth of her first daughter. This child is now 10. That she would reveal the gender to her friends and family. And what happened is she, would cut into the cake, and it was different than when people just would get the envelope that would reveal, and she would, reveal it through cutting this cake.
Right.
And when she cut into the cake, it was pink inside, and that revealed that it was a daughter, and it became, just huge. It spurred on all this stuff.
Remind me, Judy, was the whole party a gender reveal party or just a portion? Because I've got invited to one full blown gender reveal party, and then my friend did a shower, which I thought was a more traditional shower, but as part of the shower, there was the reveal portion of the shower.
I didn't mind that as much. She's become
Mm-hmm.
famous in parenting blog circles as a person who, quote, invented or popularized the gender reveal cake ceremony.
Okay, fair enough.
So
okay.
she came up with that.
Okay.
And so basically she wrote about the cake on her blog, and in a parenting forum, it quickly went viral. She was interviewed for Bump in an article that she still has framed. She wrote another blog a few years later defending parents who throw these gender reveal parties. Okay, now it's 2019.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She says her perspective on gender identity, especially as it pertains to parenting, has shifted.
Okay.
She felt a need to share it after a Twitter user referred to her as the inventor of gender reveals. She responded to the user, but she felt the need to write a bigger post with an updated family picture. As it turns out, her eldest daughter, the one who inspired the original gender reveal cake, is expressing herself in non-binary ways.
Interesting. Okay.
Her daughter loves to wear suits. As for gender in general, I'm taking my daughter's lead. In Thursday, she wrote a Facebook post addressing the, quote, mixed feelings she has about her random contribution to the culture of glorified gender announcement. It just exploded into crazy after that. Literally, guns firing, forest fires, more emphasis on gender that has ever been necessary for a baby. And then she says, who cares what gender the baby is? I did at the time because we didn't live in 2019 and I didn't know what we know now, that assigning focus on gender at birth leaves out so much of their potential and talents that have nothing to do with what's between their legs.
Interesting. And I think that's cool that she has acknowledged that she has evolved as a person and she has a different storyline and that she's willing to say that and not just dig her heels in and say it needs to be a certain thing. Because
she regrets it.
Yeah.
She regrets inventing it and she doesn't think it's necessary to do it.
And I didn't have that type of party. We had kind of a different, like we had like this combo baby shower thing. My ex-husband, my husband at the time, and I just kind of had a get together for our friends where we can all sit there and celebrate the fact that we were going to have a baby, but it was more like just a reception, and we didn't really.
There was no such thing as a gender reveal before 2008. Nobody did it.
My son was, he was born in 2008, so we could have like glommed in. But I have
But did you know what it was back then?
No,
I
I
don't
wouldn't
think
have called
it
it a
caught
party.
on by then.
And
it took a while to percolate through the culture.
And I was really one of those people that I wasn't overly excited one way or the other. Like I wasn't hoping that it was a this or a that. So I remember going, I kind of cared. But I was more one of those, once you got to the ultrasound and I knew the baby was healthy, that's all I cared. And I was fine with whatever the answer was. So I think that makes a difference too if you weren't sitting there going, like I had a friend and I did not go to the party, so I don't even know, like last winter they had a gender reveal party and that's what it was. It was meet us at this location. We're going to have this gender reveal party. We're doing this.
I find it nuts.
Yeah. I was a little surprised.
I've never been to one, by the way. I must be the person you never invite to these.
Same with me. I've never been invited to one.
And so, and I just ended up having to work and didn't make it to the party. But I kind of looked at it like it was just the new, instead of saying we're having a baby shower, they were having a gender reveal party. And so I just looked at it the same way. I'm like, here's a gift card, kind of thing. And I just,
is that what they do instead of baby showers now?
That's what I thought.
And like everybody
because they didn't have both. They had a gender reveal party. So I just looked at it like that's what we do now instead of baby shower.
Then they're doing it way too early, aren't they? Because don't you find out so I don't know. All I know is I did find out. I mean, I had a really complicated pregnancy with my daughter, and I almost lost her. And I remember having to get all these really high-level ultrasounds all the way along and being on bed rest. So one of my those really level 2 ultrasounds, one of the many that I had to have, they were able to find out what the gender was. And I was like, yeah, fine, tell me. I mean, it's kind of beside the point. And then we knew. And then I think I called my mom in the car and I was like, oh, by the way, it's a girl. I mean, there was like nobody cared.
I
like,
do think it's
there
the
was
similar.
No, and then I think maybe I told some people. And then way later on, really close to when I had the baby, a friend of mine had some women over to her house. And I think we had